The fluorescent lights hummed their familiar tune as Marcus Jenkins pushed his mop across the gleaming marble floors of Chen Technologies' executive suite. It was 11 p.m., and the building was mostly empty, just the way he preferred it. In the silence, he could think about his daughter Emma's upcoming school field trip, calculate whether he could afford both that and her asthma medication this month, and sometimes, just sometimes, allow himself to remember the life he'd left behind. Marcus had been invisible for 3 years. Invisible to the executives who rushed past him during the day, invisible to the security guards who barely nodded, invisible to everyone except Emma, who waited for him each night at Mrs. Patterson's apartment 2 floors below their own. At 42, he'd become a ghost in a custodian's uniform, and he'd made peace with that. Visibility had cost him everything once before. But tonight, invisibility would shatter in the most unexpected way. The elevator chimed, and Marcus glanced up from his work. It was unusual for anyone to be here this late, especially on a Friday. The doors slid open, revealing Kenji Takahashi, the company's enigmatic CEO, and 3 members of the board. Marcus had seen Takahashi before, everyone had, but always from a distance. The man was a legend in Silicon Valley, a Japanese tech visionary who'd built Chen Technologies from a small startup into a multi-billion-dollar empire. He was known for his brilliance, his intensity, and his absolute silence in meetings. Rumor had it he hadn't spoken a word in any board meeting for over 2 years, communicating only through written notes and his translator. Marcus moved his mop bucket aside, pressing himself against the wall to let them pass. He knew the routine: make yourself small, avert your eyes, let them forget you're even human. But something was wrong. Takahashi stood frozen in the hallway, his face pale, his hand clutched against his chest. The 3 board members surrounded him, their voices rising in panic. Mr. Takahashi. Sir, are you all right? Someone call 911. Does anyone know if he has a condition? Does anyone speak Japanese? The CEO's briefcase fell to the floor with a sharp crack, papers scattering like autumn leaves. His translator was frantically dialing his phone, speaking rapid Japanese that no one else understood. Takahashi's eyes were wide, searching, his mouth moving but producing no sound anyone could comprehend. Marcus's heart hammered in his chest. He saw Emma's face in his mind, her smile when he tucked her in, her laugh when he made pancakes shaped like stars. He thought about the promises he'd made to himself: keep your head down, don't draw attention, protect what little you have left. But he also saw a human being in distress, and some instincts ran deeper than fear. Takahashi-san, Marcus said quietly, stepping forward. Deijobu desu ka? The hallway fell silent except for the humming lights. Everyone turned to stare at the janitor holding a mop. Takahashi's eyes locked onto Marcus, and something shifted in his expression: relief, recognition, hope. He responded in rapid Japanese, his words tumbling out in a desperate stream. Marcus set down his mop and approached, his voice steady and calm. Yukiri Hanashite kudasai. Slowly, please. The CEO grabbed Marcus's arm, speaking more carefully now. Marcus listened intently, nodding, his years of language training flooding back like muscle memory. He turned to the stunned board members. He's not having a heart attack. His medication, he took the wrong prescription this morning. He's been feeling increasingly confused and disoriented all day. The symptoms are getting worse. He needs his correct medication from his home safe, and he needs it within the hour. He says the code is his daughter's birthday. The translator stepped forward, tears streaming down his face, speaking to Marcus in Japanese. Marcus responded, then translated. He says Takahashi-san specifically requested no one know about his condition. He has a severe anxiety disorder that affects his ability to speak in high-pressure situations. The wrong medication has made everything worse. He's terrified that if the board finds out, they'll force him to step down. One of the board members, a stern woman in her 60s, stepped forward. Tell him that's the last thing we do. Tell him we need him, condition or not. Can you stay with him until we get his medication? For the next 45 minutes, Marcus sat beside Kenji Takahashi in the executive lounge, speaking to him in soft Japanese, asking about his daughter, his garden, his morning tea ritual, anything to keep him grounded. The CEO, this titan of industry, held onto Marcus's words like a lifeline. Where did you learn Japanese? Takahashi finally asked, his voice steadier. Marcus hesitated. The truth meant exposure, vulnerability, risk. But this man had shared his deepest fear, had been seen in his most vulnerable moment. I lived in Tokyo for 8 years, Marcus said quietly in Japanese. I was a financial analyst for an international firm. I had a wife, a house in Setagaya, a life. Then the company collapsed in a scandal. I wasn't involved, but I was associated. I lost everything. My wife left, took our son back to her family in Osaka. By the time I got back to the States, I had Emma on the way and no references, no job prospects. I had a college record but no one would hire me. So I became invisible. Started over as the person no one sees. Takahashi studied him with sharp eyes. And you chose invisibility over fighting. I chose my daughter over my pride, Marcus replied. Some battles aren't worth winning if you lose what matters most. The medication arrived, and within 20 minutes, Takahashi's symptoms began to subside. But he didn't let Marcus leave. Instead, he asked everyone else to go, keeping only Marcus and his translator in the room. I built this company afraid every day that people would see my weakness, Takahashi said. Tonight, you saw it, and you didn't turn away. You gave me dignity when I had none. That's not the act of a janitor. That's the act of a leader. Marcus shook his head. I'm not a leader anymore. I'm a father who mops floors so his daughter can have breakfast. Then be both, Takahashi said simply. On Monday morning, Marcus received a call from our. His hands shook as he answered, certain this was the end. He'd overstepped, drawn attention, broken the cardinal rule of invisibility. Instead, they offered him a position, Director of People and Culture, a newly created role focused on seeing and supporting every employee, from the executive suite to the custodial staff. The salary was more than he'd earned in Tokyo. Mr. Takahashi specifically requested you, the HR director said. He said you understand what it means to be human in a world that often forgets. 3 months later, Marcus stood in the same hallway where his life had changed, this time wearing a suit instead of a uniform. Emma had delivered her presentation at the school field trip, her inhaler safely in her backpack. Mrs. Patterson had cried happy tears when he'd given her a bonus for all those years of patient, loving care. Takahashi walked by, nodded, and spoke aloud in front of everyone. Thank you, Marcus-san. It was the first time most employees had heard him speak in English. Several gasped. Marcus bowed slightly. Thank you for seeing me, Takahashi-san. As the CEO walked away, Marcus understood that invisibility and visibility were both choices. He'd chosen invisibility to survive, to protect Emma, to heal. But Takahashi had shown him that being seen, truly seen, didn't always mean exposure and loss. Sometimes it meant recognition, connection, and the chance to help others step into the light. That night, as he tucked Emma into bed, she asked, Daddy, why are you smiling so much? Marcus kissed her forehead. Because I remembered something important today, sweetheart. We're all just people trying our best. And sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is see each other clearly, all of us, no matter what job we have or what language we speak. Emma yawned. That's nice, Daddy. Can you teach me Japanese? Yes, Marcus said, his heart full. I'd love that. Outside, the city lights twinkled like possibilities, and Marcus Jenkins, father, former analyst, former janitor, and now leader, felt visible in all the right ways.